Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Valsa Williams and with me is Saira Mujtaba with the Midday News. The headlines. Bharatiya Janata Party's two-day national executive meeting to begin in Hyderabad this afternoon. Prime Minister Narendra Modi along with top leaders and chief ministers of the party to attend the meet. Home and Cooperation Minister Amit Shah inaugurates and lays the foundation stone of various development projects worth over 33 crore rupees in Ahmedabad. I&B Minister Anurag Thakur interacts with owners and chief editors of media organizations in Hyderabad, apprises them of several welfare measures of the Modi government. Mahavikas Aghadi fields Shiv Sena leader Rajan Salvi for Speaker's post of Maharashtra State Assembly against BJP's Rahul Narvekar. Shiv Sena President Uddhav Thackeray expels rebel party leader Eknath Shinde from the party. Recruitment process for Agniveers for Army and Navy begins under Agnipath scheme. In cricket, India to resume their first innings at the overnight score of 338 for 7 against England on the second day of rescheduled fifth test at Edgbaston. And in Wimbledon tennis, Rafael Nadal, Stefano Tsitsipas, Simona Halep and Katie Boulter to play their third round singles matches today. The BJP National Executive Committee meeting will begin today in Hyderabad. Party's senior leadership, including Union Ministers Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh and Nitin Gadkari, 18 chief ministers of BJP-ruled states, along with 340 delegates, will attend the Executive Committee meeting. Party President J.P. Nadda inaugurated BJP's office bearers meet this morning. The two-day meeting of the BJP's key decision-making body will focus on strategies to further strengthen the party, especially in the southern states. BJP National General Secretary Tarun Chugh informed the media that the National Executive Committee meeting is being held in Hyderabad after 18 years. Last evening, BJP President J.P. Nadda held a meeting of General Secretaries in the city. This will be the first physical meeting of the BJP's key decision-making body outside the national capital after a gap of 5 years and the third in a southern state after coming to power in 2014. A report.
All eyes turned to Hyderabad with the BJP holding its key decision-making body, National Executive Committee meeting in Telangana state capital for next 2 days. All arrangements are in place and top leaders of the BJP have already started reaching Bhagyanagar. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be arriving at Hyderabad at around 3 p.m. and will attend all meetings along with the Executive Committee members. The Executive Committee will begin its meeting at 4 p.m. this evening and continue till late in the evening. The NEC meeting will continue tomorrow too. Party will discuss its future strategies and a gamut of issues which have significance at national and international level. The meeting will be passing several resolutions, including the political one. The National Executive Committee meeting will be followed by a massive public meeting called BJP Vijay Sankalpa Sabha, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address. Lakshmi, AR News, Hyderabad.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a massive rally in Hyderabad tomorrow. The rally is expected to be based on the theme of local culture and tradition. Mr. Chugh added that the BJP's National Executive meeting is being held in Hyderabad at a time when the party is trying to make inroads in the state, whereas the K. Chandrasekhar Rao-led ruling TRS is working to cobble an alliance to challenge the Saffron Party at the national level. He further said political resolution will focus on the current political scenario in the country. Union Minister for Home and Cooperation Amit Shah inaugurated and laid the foundation stone of various development projects in Ahmedabad this morning. These projects worth over 33 crore rupees belong to Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation and Railway sector. He also dedicated Chandlodia and Khodiar Railway underbridge on the occasion. This will provide more facilities to the people and ease the traffic congestion. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Shah said development of railway facilities in Gujarat have been speeded up under the Modi government. He said today is the big day for Gandhinagar Lok Sabha and Sabarmati Assembly constituency. Mr. Shah said these new facilities will ease the life of people in the region. He announced that 10 long-distance trains have been given a stop at Chandlodia, Ambli and Sabarmati railway stations from today. The Home Minister also launched a tree plantation campaign of 1 lakh trees at Hebatpur in Ahmedabad. He said the COVID pandemic has taught us a big lesson that oxygen is of paramount importance. Mr. Shah was on a 3-day visit to his Lok Sabha constituency.
Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur today interacted with owners and chief editors of major organizations in Hyderabad today. During the interaction, the minister informed them about achievements of the NDA government in various sectors. He said the motto of the central government is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and all programs are being implemented with the focus on this vision.
देश में 2014 से लेकर 2022 तक 8 वर्षों में एनडीए की सरकार ने मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में सेवा भाव से काम किया, शासन के नए आयाम स्थापित किए और गरीबों के कल्याण में सबसे आगे रहे। देश भर के सभी राज्यों में कुल मिलाकर देखा जाए 3 करोड़ पक्के मकान गरीबों के बनाकर दिए, 45 करोड़ बैंक खाते खोले हैं, हर घर को बिजली देने का काम किया है, मुफ्त में वैक्सीन 198 करोड़ लगाने का काम किया, 80 करोड़ गरीबों को मुफ्त में अनाज 28 महीने तक देने का काम दुनिया में एक देश में भारत में मोदी सरकार ने किया है। यही नहीं, हर घर को नल से जल देने का काम भी हमने शुरू किया और 9 करोड़ लोगों को दे दिया।
In Maharashtra, the election for the post of Speaker of State Legislative Assembly will be held tomorrow. The contest will be between Bharatiya Janata Party's Rahul Narvekar and Mahavikas Aghadi's Rajan Salve. While talking to reporters, BJP leader Praveen Darikar today said that they have a total support of 170 MLAs. More in this report.
Finally, the election for the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly Speaker will take place tomorrow. The post has been lying vacant since February last year after the resignation of Congress leader Nana Patole, who is now the MPCC chief. Shiv Sena nominee Rajan Salve is the party MLA from Rajapur in Ratnagiri district, while BJP nominee Rahul Narvekar is an MLA from Kolaba Assembly constituency in South Mumbai. He joined the BJP before the 2019 Maharashtra Assembly elections and defeated Congress candidate Ashok Jagtap. He had been previously associated with the Shiv Sena and NCP. Meanwhile, Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde today said that there is no self-interest in any of the 50 MLAs who rebelled against the Shiv Sena leadership. He clarified saying that the MLAs did not receive any notices from the central agencies which compelled them to rebel against Shiv Sena. Mr. Shinde said the MLAs felt that injustice was done to them and it was simmering within them for a long time. He also said that the stand taken by the rebel MLAs was not for the greed to get the CM's post. Kunal Shinde, AIR News, Mumbai.
Shiv Sena President Uddhav Thackeray has expelled rebel Sena leader and incumbent Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde from the party for indulging in anti-party activities. The party release said Mr. Thackeray informed Mr. Shinde about the decision in a letter. Mr. Thackeray said in the letter that exercising powers vested in him as the Shiv Sena President, he has also removed Mr. Shinde from all party posts.
The Shiromani Akali Dal SAD has announced to support NDA's presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu. SAD President Sukhbir Singh Badal announced this after a meeting of the office bearers of the party at Chandigarh. Mr. Badal said that despite differences with the BJP on some issues, they have decided to support the NDA presidential candidate as SAD always worked for the poor and weaker sections of society. He said they cannot go with the Congress-backed candidate.
मतभेद ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਈਡ ਤੇ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਈਡ ਤੇ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਹੀ ਰਾਹ ਚੁਣੀਏ ਸੋ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਤੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਦ੍ਰੋਪਦੀ ਮੁਰਮੂ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਐਜ਼ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ
Ms. Murmu had earlier met Shiromani Akali Dal leaders in Chandigarh and sought their support in the presidential elections. More than 197 crore 84 lakh COVID vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. More than 9 lakh vaccine doses were administered in the last 24 hours. During the same period, 17,092 new COVID cases were reported in the country. India's active caseload currently stands at 1,09,568 and it is at 0.25%. The recovery rate is currently at 98.54%. A total of 14,684 people recovered in the last 24 hours.
The Department of Post has decided to extend the last date for document verification of Grameen Dak Sevaks shortlisted for various posts till the 15th of this month. In a statement, the department has stated that keeping in view the flood situation in Assam, the last date for document verification of the Grameen Dak Sevaks shortlisted for various posts has been extended from the 30th of June up to the 15th of this month. You're listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Bharatiya Janata Party's two-day National Executive Committee meeting to begin in Hyderabad this afternoon. Prime Minister Narendra Modi along with top leaders and chief ministers of the party to attend the meet. Home and Cooperation Minister Amit Shah inaugurates and lays the foundation stone of various development projects worth over 33 crore rupees in Ahmedabad. I&B Minister Anurag Thakur interacts with owners and chief editors of media organizations in Hyderabad, apprises them of several welfare measures of the Modi government. Mahavikas Aghadi fields Shiv Sena leader Rajan Salvi for Speaker's post of Maharashtra State Assembly against BJP's Rahul Narvikar. Shiv Sena President Uddhav Thackeray expels rebel party leader Eknath Shinde from the party. Recruitment process for Agniveers for Army and Navy begins under Agnipath scheme. In cricket, India to resume their first innings at the overnight score of 338 for 7 against England on the second day of rescheduled fifth test at Edgbaston. And in Wimbledon tennis, Rafael Nadal, Stefano Tsitsipas, Simona Halep and Katie Boulter to play their third-round singles matches today. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
कंपटीशन की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी तो उनके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर हम लाए हैं अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछेंगे सवाल व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करेंगे abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे इसका जवाब। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
बर्फ से ढके पहाड़,
हवा के साथ झूमते चीड़ चिनार,
झीलों पर तैरते शिकारे,
हरी भरी घाटियों के दिलकश नजारे।
आकाशवाणी समाचार आपके लिए लेकर आया है जम्मू कश्मीर विशेष श्रृंखला एक नई सुबह।
हम बात करते हैं विकास की, निवेश की,
पर्यटन की, संस्कृति की
और रोज हो रहे बदलावों की। FM गोल्ड पर सुनिए हर शुक्रवार रात 9:15 पर आकाशवाणी समाचार की विशेष प्रस्तुति
जम्मू कश्मीर एक नई सुबह।
Welcome back to the Midday News. The Indian Army and Navy have started registration for recruitment of Agniveers under the Agnipath scheme. This was announced by the Defence Ministry. The recruitment is scheduled to begin in 90 days. Under the scheme, Agniveers will be recruited in the Army, Navy and Air Force for 4 years. After 4 years, up to 25% of them could be retained or re-enlisted in the regular cadre based on merit, willingness and medical fitness. The remaining 75% will be eligible for Seva Nidhi packages of 11 to 12 lakh rupees. They will also be provided with skill certificates and bank loans for their second career and will also be entitled to awards, medals and insurance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephonic conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin yesterday. They exchanged ideas on how bilateral trade on agricultural goods, fertilizers and pharma products could be encouraged further. The leaders discussed global issues, including the state of the international energy and food markets. The two leaders also reviewed the implementation of the decisions taken during President Putin's visit to India in December last year. They agreed to maintain regular consultations on global and bilateral issues. In the context of the ongoing situation in Ukraine, the Prime Minister reiterated India's long-standing position in favor of dialogue and diplomacy.
At least 3 people were killed and 8 injured in a 6.1 magnitude earthquake in southern Iran earlier this morning. Iranian media put the strength of the quake at 6.1, while the European Mediterranean Seismological Center said it was of magnitude 6. Major geological fault lines crisscross Iran, which has suffered several devastating earthquakes in recent years. Residents from various parts of the UAE felt the tremors as well. Niti Aayog today released a compendium of various Ayush-based initiatives and practices adopted by the states and union territories for containing and managing the COVID-19 outbreak. The compendium was released by Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog, Suman Beri, and Minister of State for Ayush, Dr. Munchapada Mahendrabhai Kalubhai. Niti Aayog member Health, Dr. V.K. Paul, and concerned officials were present during the event. Speaking on the occasion, Niti Aayog Vice Chairman said, the compendium provides information about practices adopted by states and UTs for strengthening the country's fight against COVID-19 using Ayush resources and interventions. He said that this document will prove to be a crucial knowledge resource for stakeholders from other countries who have a good network of traditional medicine systems.
Today is World Sports Journalists Day, which is also known as International Sports Journalists Day. It is celebrated every year on the 2nd of July. The day is observed to honor all sports journalists around the world and also brings awareness about the sports journalism to the common people. A report.
Sports journalism developed during the 19th century but was centered on elitist sports and was more focused on reporting the social context of sports events. In the 1920s, the profession began to take shape as newspapers dedicated more time and space to sports journalism. World Sports Journalist Day was first observed in 1994 when the International Sports Press Association decided to commemorate it in honors of its 70th anniversary. The 20th century witnessed a massive boom in the popularity of sports journalism. In 1880, only 0.4% of space was dedicated to sports in newspapers. This figure rose to 20% by the 1920s as newspapers began hiring reporters exclusively for sports coverage. Today, sports journalism utilizes not only print media but also radio, television, along with social media and the internet. Varghese PV, AR News, Delhi.
The month-long rejuvenation therapy for elephants belonging to the Guruvayur Devaswam has begun at Punnatur Kotta, near Guruvayur in Thrissur district. The therapy involves providing a scientifically prepared balanced diet mixed with Ayurvedic and allopathic medicines to help maintain the health and well-being of the pachyderms. The diet is prepared using boiled rice, green grams, ragi, ashtachurnam, chavanprash, turmeric powder and iron tonic, among other things. An expert committee administers the diet taking into account the physique of each elephant. Besides vitamin-enriched food, elephants will be given elaborate baths, exercise and adequate rest during the therapy period. The Devaswam has earmarked a sum of 14 lakh rupees for rejuvenation therapy this year. The Union Minister of State for Women and Child Development, Dr. Munjpara Mahendrabhai, today chaired the zonal meeting of aspirational districts in Ranchi on the impact of schemes on women and children. During the meeting, MOS Dr. Munjpara reviewed the implementation of 3 new schemes, Mission Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0, Mission Shakti and Mission Vatsalya in aspirational districts of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Odisha. Dr. Munjpara said the schemes run by the WCD ministry has helped daughters achieve good health and social security.
एवरी स्टेट में जाके 2 या 3 स्टेट को साथ में बुला के ये जनरल मीट करने जा रहे हैं। तो वुमेन एंड चाइल्ड में सबसे पहले तो हमारे वहाँ बच्ची हमारे यहाँ जन्म लेती है, तब से हम स्टार्ट करते हैं बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ, सुकन्या समृद्धि योजना। तो जैसे हमारी बच्ची बर्थ लेगी उसके बाद उसके पेरेंट्स अपने आय के अनुसार जो कुछ इन्वेस्टमेंट करेंगे, उसको जब बच्ची बड़ी होगी तो उसको कंपेरेटिव दूसरी स्कीम से ज्यादा और सेफ रिटर्न मिले। इसलिए बहुत ही ये अच्छी योजना है। अपनी बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ में जो सेक्स रेशियो जिसको बोलते हैं कि मेल चाइल्ड टू कंपेरेटिव फीमेल चाइल्ड में क्या पोजीशन है, तो उसमें भी हमने 29 अंकों की वृद्धि पाई है।
Members of Niti Aayog, Deputy Commissioners of Aspirational Districts, Secretary and senior officials of Ministry of Women and Child Development participated in the meeting.
As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events is being organized by the government as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To commemorate the occasion, All India Radio News brings its listeners Amrit Mahotsav Quiz, a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. The next question of the quiz will be shared with the listeners on Monday, 4th of July in Morning News. Celebrate India's Amrit Mahotsav by participating in the quiz. And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of this struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember freedom fighter Yusuf Meher Ali, who died on the 2nd of July 1950. Yusuf Meher Ali is credited with giving the slogans "Simon, go back" and "Quit India."
Simon, go back! Simon, go back! Simon, go back!
Yusuf Meher Ali was born on the 23rd of September 1903. He founded the National Militia, Bombay Youth League and the Congress Socialist Party and played a role in several peasant and trade union movements. He also took part in the protests against the Simon Commission. He took part in the Quit India movement and was imprisoned. He was elected mayor of Bombay in 1942 while he was imprisoned in Yerrawada Central Prison.
A notable writer, Yusuf Ali is credited with writing Leaders of India, The Price of Liberty and Underground Movement. The nationalist leader continued to work for the people until his death in 1950. AIR News salutes the great Indian.
We also remember freedom fighter Bakht Khan, who was appointed General of the Hindustan Army of Bahadur Shah Zafar on the 2nd of July 1857. A resident of Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh, Khan was initially working as a subedar in the artillery of the British Indian Army.
He left the British service during the First War of Indian Independence in 1857 and joined the independence activists at Bareilly. He became a brigadier of the activists in Bareilly and made arrangements for arms and ammunition. In June 1857, he marched towards Delhi along with his followers.
Bakht Khan reached Delhi on the 2nd of July 1857 and was welcomed by Bahadur Shah Zafar, who called him Farzand and appointed him as the commander-in-chief with the title General. Bakht Khan reorganized the army in Delhi, gave them 6 months advance salary and ordered them to maintain strict discipline. He also played a key role in forming the administrative council called Jalsa-e-Fauji wa Mulki to maintain law and order in Delhi.
Although he succeeded in ousting the British forces from various strongholds in Delhi, he lost in the Battle of Najafgarh on 25th of August 1857. Bakht Khan left Delhi after its fall to the British in September 1857, but continued to fight the British in Lucknow and Rohilkhand. After the uprising was suppressed, Bakht Khan escaped towards Nepal and was reported to have been killed there in action in 1859. AIR News salutes the great freedom fighter.
We also remember Martyr Sawan, who took part in the First War of Independence in 1857 in Gujarat. Sawan highlighted the cruelties of the British and inspired his neighbours to raise their arms to overthrow the foreign rule. He was captured by the British and charged with sedition and rebellion against the company rule. Sawan was sentenced to imprisonment for life with labour in irons. He died in captivity on the 2nd of July 1859 in the Andaman Islands. We salute the brave son of the soil.
We also remember martyrs Dodhai, Bhagwan and Sehdev, residents of district Gorakhpur, Uttar Pradesh, who were sentenced to death on the 2nd of July 1923. During the non-cooperation movement, the British police of Chauri Chaura Thana opened fire on the peaceful protesters in the area, causing deaths and injuries to many. When the police ran out of ammunition and found the gathering infuriated by the firing, they retreated and hid themselves inside the police station. A few infuriated activists sprayed kerosene oil on the building and set it on fire, killing all the 23 policemen inside.
Dodhai, Bhagwan and Sehdev were among the accused and were convicted for taking part in the Chauri Chaura case. They were sentenced to death and hanged on the 2nd of July 1923. All India Radio News salutes the brave sons of the soil.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
In some more news, the second round of Foreign Office consultations between India and Dominican Republic was held in Santo Domingo yesterday. The consultations reviewed the entire gamut of bilateral relations, including political, trade and investment, capacity building and cooperation in science and technology. Multilateral and regional issues including cooperation in UN, International Solar Alliance and Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure were also discussed.
In Manipur, with 6 more bodies of army personnel recovered this morning from the debris, the death toll in landslides in Noni district has gone up to 27. Rescue and search operation is being carried out by the Joint Task Force with local volunteers. More than 80 persons, including 43 territorial army personnel, were buried alive in the landslide which occurred Wednesday night. Minister of Water Resources, IPR and Parliamentary Affairs of Assam, Piyush Hazarika, is visiting the landslide spot today. Northwest monsoon has been active in all parts of Rajasthan today, 6 days before its normal arrival time. Heavy rainfall is being recorded at many places in the state. More from our correspondent.
In the last 24 hours, heavy rain has been recorded at many places including Ajmer, Udaipur, Sirohi, Bhilwara, Surgat, Kota, Rajsamand, Jaipur, Nagaur, Badmer and Pali district. Ajmer has received a maximum rainfall of 134 mm. Even today, heavy rain is likely to be occurred isolated places in Ajmer division and adjoining districts. Many other places in the state also received good rainfall today. According to the Met Department, rain will continue at many places in the state for the next 24 to 48 hours. Jitendra Dwivedi, AIR News, Jaipur.
Commemorating India's 75 years of independence, the Indian Army and Indian Air Force have joined to conduct a landmark cycling expedition from Delhi to Dras, commencing from today. The team, comprising 20 soldiers and air warriors, is led by 2 lady officers of the Army and Air Force. The expedition was flagged off this morning from the National War Memorial in New Delhi. The cyclists will face the daunting task of covering 1,600 kilometers in 24 days. The expedition will culminate at the Kargil War Memorial in Dras on the 26th of this month to commemorate the brave martyrs who made the supreme sacrifice during the Kargil War.
On to sports now. In cricket, India will resume their first innings from the overnight score of 338 runs for 7 wickets against England on the second day of the rescheduled 5th Test match at Edgbaston Stadium in Birmingham. Ravindra Jadeja at 83 runs and Mohammad Shami at 0 were at the crease when stumps were drawn yesterday. The main highlight of the day's play was Rishabh Pant's 146 of 111 balls with 24s and 4 sixes. Earlier, the host won the toss and elected to field. England versus India one-off test is the 5th test from last year's tour, which was postponed due to COVID-19. India leads the series 2-1. In Wimbledon tennis, Rafael Nadal, Stefanos Tsitsipas, Simona Halep and Katie Boulter will play the third-round singles matches today. Rafael Nadal will take on Lorenzo Sonego of Italy for a place in the last 16. In another match, A.D. Minor of Australia will compete against El Brody of Britain. Another Australian, N. Kyrgios, will take on Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece. In women's singles, Iga of USA will take on her compatriot A. Anisimova, and Iga Swiatek of Poland will compete against A. Cornet of France. In another match, K. Walter of Britain will take on Ishtan of France. Tomljanovic of Australia will take on Krejcikova of Czech Republic, and M. Fresh of Poland will play against Simona Halep of Romania.
A look at the weather update for the day. National capital Delhi is having generally cloudy sky with light rain. Minimum temperature was 26 degrees Celsius, while maximum is expected to be around 34. Mumbai is expected to have generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. Chennai is likely to have generally cloudy sky with light rain. Kolkata is likely to have generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Bharatiya Janata Party's 2-day National Executive Committee meeting to begin in Hyderabad this afternoon. Prime Minister Narendra Modi along with top leaders and chief ministers of the party to attend the meet. Home and Cooperation Minister Amit Shah inaugurates and lays the foundation stone of various development projects worth over 33 crore rupees in Ahmedabad. INB Minister Anurag Thakur interacts with owners and chief editors of media organizations in Hyderabad, apprises them of several welfare measures of the Modi government. Mahavikas Aghadi fields Shiv Sena leader Rajan Salvi for Speaker's post of Maharashtra State Assembly against BJP's Rahul Narvekar. Shiv Sena President Uddhav Thackeray expels rebel party leader Eknath Shinde from the party. Recruitment process for Agniveers for Army and Navy begins under Agnipath scheme. In cricket, India to resume their first innings at the overnight score of 338 for 7 against England on the second day of rescheduled 5th test at Edgbaston. And Wimbledon tennis, Rafael Nadal, Stefanos Tsitsipas, Simona Halep, Katie Boulter to play their third round singles matches today. And with that, we end the midday news.